On YouTube alone, you've probably seen videos warning you about buying a home in the current market with claims that the market crash has begun or will soon happen. And I understand that's a scary and disappointing thing to see, especially if you've been preparing to buy a home for quite some time now. Granted, things are looking bad. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing things that are going wrong with the real estate market right here in Orlando, Florida, but I'm also going to be discussing some factors about this market that are actually good and indicate a healthy market. If you're thinking about buying or selling a home in Orlando, Florida, and you're concerned about the Orlando real estate market, this video is for you. My aim by the end of this video, for you to have the clarity about what's happening with the Orlando real estate market, so that you have objective information to peacefully decide on whether being in the Orlando real estate market is the right choice for you now. Before we dive into this, as I've mentioned before here on this channel, real estate markets are local, and even two cities in the same state can have totally different markets. So it's important to tune into updates on the city that is relevant to you, whether you're a buyer looking to purchase a home or a seller looking to sell a home in Orlando. So if you're new to this channel, welcome. I'm Kathy Williams. I'm a real estate advisor in Orlando with Team Williams and Compass Florida. And as a local agent, I constantly have my finger on the pulse of the market here in Orlando. The bad. So let's first review the bad news before we talk about the advantages. People are calling the current situation with the housing market a standstill due to home affordability and interest rates. So on the one side, there are sellers who could sell their homes if they wanted to, but they like their current interest rate. And if they're looking to buy as well, they don't want a loan with the higher interest rate than the one they have now. On the other side, we have buyers who are priced out of the market because of the interest rate. The higher the interest rate, the less buying power that someone has. For every 1% increase in an interest rate, purchasing power decreases by roughly 10%. And even though we have slowed down a lot, I don't think that the word standstill is the right word to describe what's happening in the Orlando market. But more on that later. Another bad thing that's happening is the rate of inflation, which indirectly affects mortgage rates. Although inflation has slowed down significantly since the Fed started their rate hike, the rate of inflation is still not where the Fed wants it to be. The latest report shows that inflation ticked up slightly in July. So if you see this chart, you can see that little slight uptick. There is a chance that the Fed will raise the federal funds rate again next month, and consequently, the mortgage rates might continue to increase. Mortgage rates have been between 7% and 7.2% in the last couple of weeks for a 30-year fixed mortgage, which is slightly under the 20-year high of around 7.24% that we saw last year. Now, at this point, you might be thinking, this sounds like a lot of bad news to me, Kathy. Where is the good news in this current market? It seems like a bleak situation, and yes, it's tough, but I want to point out some things for you to put into consideration if buying now is possible for you and you're concerned about this market. Here we go with the things that are good. When considering the bigger picture of history and interest rates, the interest rates are not bad. And I want to show you this graph of the history of mortgage rates since they were first recorded. So for much of recorded history, interest rates have been much higher than they are now. For many years, they were at 8% or higher. So it doesn't seem likely that the rates will drop back to the 2s or the 3s for a long time, because historically, this is not a normal occurrence. But the current rates are not anything out of the ordinary. The interest rates that we have now, which are in the low 7s for a 30-year fixed mortgage, are actually on the low side, or they are standard, if you will, compared to interest rates throughout history. Another positive thing about the Orlando market is, despite these interest rates, demand is still going strong. So we can look at this median sale price chart, and this chart shows the sale price of single family homes in Orlando since January of 2020. And the first thing I noticed is an overall upward trend in prices. There have been short bursts of upward and downward trends since 2020, but overall we have always had an upward trajectory. If we look closer between February and June of this year, there have been increasing home values. This shows that despite the interest rates ticking back up in recent months, people still want to buy and home prices are holding well. And like I've talked about on this channel before, people have a strong desire to move to Orlando. I'm working with buyers who are enthralled with the Orlando lifestyle, and I'm also working with sellers who need or want to sell their home. So while the media is calling the overall housing market in the US a standstill, that is not what's happening in Orlando. And if you look at that also, other desirable cities, they're not seeing a standstill. I hear from agents all the time who are telling me our market's on fire. So in Orlando, the market has slowed down tremendously compared to what it was. But the reality is that there are people in the market and many who want to be in the market. So the word I would use to describe this market is slowdown, which brings me to my next point, that the other good thing about this market is that both buyers and sellers do not have to move as quickly on average as they had to during the buying frenzy of a year or two ago. The median time to contract, which is the median number of days it takes for a home to go under contract for purchase, is 16 days for Orlando. And that was for the month of June of this year. And you can see that in this graphic. In June of 2022, it was only 7 days. So that's, it's gone up a lot. And keep in mind, this is the median number. So many houses do stay on the market for longer or a shorter number of days. But overall, we are experiencing a slower market, so you have more time to breathe. What's interesting to note is that we are still in a faster market than we were in June 2019, when the median time to contract was 24 days. So buyers and sellers have some more breathing room during the process of buying or selling, but the market is still moving faster than before the pandemic. If you're wondering about foreclosures, because you've been seeing news stories about foreclosures going up, I also want to show you that the number of foreclosures each month in Orlando is still extremely low. And in June of this year, there were only 2 closed sales that were foreclosures. And as you can see by this chart, foreclosures have been staying very low in Orlando for the past few years. We're not seeing numbers anywhere near what we saw in 2010 or after the housing burst. So what can we conclude from this information? Though this market is not ideal for many buyers, there are healthy things happening in the Orlando market. My point here is that in Orlando, it's not risky to purchase a home right now if you plan to hold on to the home for at least 5 years, and if you don't sell at the wrong time. If you're a seller, there is still demand in the market. All in all, it's essential to take in all factors of the market along with your individual financial situation. I hope this information helps. If you would like to take the next step to relocate to the Orlando area, we just updated our relocation guide that you can download by clicking the link in the description box below. And if you have any questions for me about getting started as a buyer or a seller in the Orlando area, you can schedule a call with me by clicking the link in the description box below for my calendar. I'm more than happy to connect with you. See you next time. Bye-bye now.